Medieval/Renaissance History by Blake Bramall.
Zack, Nathan, Diane, Zack Howell.
Generation Charles. Introduction. Did you know that the medieval times lasted from 500 AD to 1500 AD? Well, that's just some of the things that you are going to learn in this presentation. We are pleased to present our project to you that we made and we did with a lot of effort. Most effort that we could do with the amount of time that we had in school to do this. We will be answering the questions at the end of this presentation, so just listen and wait.
The medieval times. The people of the middle time. The jobs of the medieval people were carpenter, farmer, stonemason, and more. The carpenter job was to create furniture, wagons, and even houses. The farmer's job was to plant and agriculture. The stonemason's job was to cut shapes and install natural stone to structures like walls, floors, and architectural features. The ranks of the medieval people were peasant, farmers, nobles, knights, popes, and monarchs. Not all people do these, and the ranks are hard to go up. The medieval ages education was centered around the religion, meaning that the classes taught content related to the Bible and use religion's text to teach certain ideas. For example, students would learn Greek and Latin by reading the Bible or documents from educational councils. Most of the people of the medieval ages would celebrate holidays like Christmas, Easter, Latin, and All Saints Days.
During the medieval era, there were many structures, many of which helped with refuge during battle while facing large enemies and for protection. These fortifications have evolved throughout the Middle Ages, most notably being the castle, which has been the most popular building in medieval history. The castle served as a place for protection. Some of these structures were very important and protect the king, his family, and his servants. The average houses for people to live in were mostly cottages and small houses, and the places that peasants or poor people would live in were mostly small huts.
The ranks of royalty were Baron, Sovereign, Prince, Duke, Sovereign, Prince, Duke, Prince, Grand Duke, Grand Prince, Archduke, Monarch, then Emperor. The things jesters did to entertain their kings and queens were playing songs and music with instruments like a hurdy-gurdy and banjos. They also told stories and made jokes like puns. Also, people that lived in castles were lords, knights, servants, soldiers, and entertainers. Knights in battle typically wore chain, mail, or plated armor, along with a helmet and shields. Carried weapons like swords, lances, and sometimes maces or flails. To become royalty, you either need to get married into the royal family or must be born into the royal family. The pets medieval royalty kept were dogs, cats, monkeys, squirrels, and other exotic animals were sometimes kept as status symbols. Royalty ate meat, poultry, fish, and game. Game is like stuff you can like hunt. Often accompanied by bread, wine, exotic spices. Vegetables were considered more common fare, Royalty rode in carriages suspended with leather chains.
Food of the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, there were mainly 2 meals a day, dinner at midday and supper in the evening. To make the food, cooks had to learn how to cook over an open fire. Cooking stoves were not invented until the 18th century. Although there were ovens back then, they were very expensive and most people could not afford them. Fruits were a very popular choice and were used in many cooked dishes, since honey and sugar were very expensive and hard to come by. Grains, like rice, were the main part of most meals. They also ate a lot of meat like beef, although beef was not as common as it is today, so they would mostly use other meats like goat meat and pork.
The Black Plague. The Black Plague was caused by Bacterium Jensen pest. Bacteria was primarily transmitted to humans through bites of infected fleas, which were often carried by rodents such as rats, marmots, gerbils, ground squirrels, but some scientists say mosquitoes spread the Black Plague. Symptoms of the Black Plague, in order, are fever, chills, vomiting, diarrhea, terrible aches, black spots on your nose, then death. The plague doctor's outfit was a beak mask with herbs, and they did this because they thought the herbs in the beak would stop the plague, but they did not. Glass eye holes were for seeing and also keeping a barrier against the disease. Leather and wax coating were for further protection against bodily fluids. The end of the Black Plague is unknown, but it helped to have hygiene and isolation practices such as quarantine. These may have slowed the spread of disease. Between 75 million and 200 million people died during 1346 to 1343 to the Black Plague.
Facts about the medieval times. The 1300s onward, people began wearing shoes with really long tips. Salt was very expensive in the medieval times, and pepper and sugar were more expensive by weight than gold. Animals in the medieval times would be put on trial for committing crimes. Eels were sometimes used as currency, and also football was banned, not American soccer, also known as football.
What? No.
Conclusion. Thank you all for listening to our presentation. And in this presentation, you learned about the Black Plague, you learned about the ranks of royalties, and other medieval events. This is the part where we will be answering any questions about our project, so feel free to ask.
And citations were on another piece. We had them on another piece of paper. Now let's explain this. Connor, please take the crown for a minute.
Okay, can we give them a clap, please? All right, and before we get to questions, boys, can you go ahead and explain your model?
Before anything, we have to settle a debate. Raise your hand if you like this sword in the stone.
Wait, can you see that?
These are the options.
See.
1, 2, 3. No, this is the first one.
Well, you can't vote until you know what the other one is.
So these are the others. Raise your hand for this one. 1,
I like the
2, 3,
mushrooms.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay.
Don't do mine. That's Connor's.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you like this one. 2. Wait, 3. you want to? And this is Mason's. Raise your hand if you like this one.
Sorry, Mason.
It's beautiful. I
Okay.
wasn't gonna vote, but I'll vote.
So Connor, so the debate says. Oh. Okay, let me just settle the debates.
What about his?
Yeah.
What about Blake's sword? It's
He
not
didn't
his
make
stone.
No, this isn't my sword. I didn't make one. So I'll explain the diorama. So here are the royalty people. This is the queen, and this is the king, and then this is the jester. Okay, and here's my little your diorama of the plague doctor. This is the little plague doctor with his wand. Magical wand, which didn't do anything. And then he used this like abracadabra, and then the plague was gone. Yeah, the plague was gone. And then here's his patron, and then here's the and here we have a little horse.
Missing a leg. The storyline will explain itself.
Yes. We have we have the watchtower, which there used to be an archer up here, but he
Sadly fell and someone stepped on him.
They're the giants. Then there's something here.
And then, let me explain for the rest. And then, so at the, yeah, this is the ogre. He's just been floating around the boat for years. This is a well. This is a chest Connor made with like money and stuff in it. And then this actually works. Finally, the storyline. Huh?
Let it all
How do you put it back up? Let's see if you can open and close from the
The
outside.
storyline was basically long ago, two castles, including this one, were at war with each other. But they were equally matched and no one survived of either. Then, the only people that survived was the ogre, and that's why he always swims around the moat. Then after that, these people, the people that were the only ones left, and they were about to suffer the same fate. So what they did, they fled with the most important people, that were all of these people. And then those two guys apparently joined them. And then after a while, eventually, they found this castle that was broken and destroyed. They called it home. And the plague doctor tried to get rid of all the rats so the plague couldn't do it. But it was already too late. Jim Bob's dad had the black... Pegleg Jerry. I already said that. Pegleg Jerry caught the Black Plague. Now the plague doctor's visiting. And that's the storyline. No. No. Because it's battle damage.
This guy's missing a foot, so his name is Pegleg Jerry.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions?
Austin.
Is this storyline true? Or is
No,
it
it's
made up?
totally made up.
Remember, ogres didn't exist.